Today, we're diving into the book of James. Now, this isn't just any book in the Bible. It's packed with practical wisdom from a really unique source, James the Just, who is actually the half-brother of Jesus. As a leader in the early Jerusalem church, his writing feels like he's talking right to us, a direct, caring guide for our spiritual lives.
But here's a thought. What if there's something more going on than just a collection of wise sayings? What if James actually embedded a structure, a kind of hidden map, to guide believers on a journey from their very first steps in faith all the way to true spiritual wholeness? That's the incredible idea we're going to unpack together.
So, how in the world do we read this map? Well, it turns out the key might just be hidden in plain sight, in the symbolic meaning of biblical numbers. Let's take a quick look at the three numbers that seem to unlock this whole thing.
First up, we've got the number 4. You see this number everywhere in the Bible, and it often symbolizes earthly completeness. Think about the 4 corners of the earth, or the 4 seasons. It basically represents our starting point, our life right here in the material, created world.
Next, there's the number 8. Now, this one is all about a new beginning, a resurrection. A perfect example, the 8 people who survived the flood on the ark, to restart all of humanity. So for our journey, this number represents a huge transformation, a totally fresh start.
And finally, the number 3. This one points to divine completeness. I mean, the most obvious connection is the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, right? This number represents our ultimate goal, spiritual wholeness, being perfectly aligned with God. Okay, so we've got our keys, 4, 8, and 3. Let's see how James puts them to use.
All right, let's see how this map unfolds. The first stage of the journey we could call the earthly walk, and it's marked by James using the simple address, brethren. Now get this, he does it exactly 4 times. And you know that number is no accident. Those 4 mentions really anchor this first stage in the theme of earthly completeness. James is talking to believers right where they are, dealing with the very real, tangible challenges of living together in a community.
So here's where it gets interesting. The focus at this stage is all on our outward behavior. Before we really start to grow, we might get caught up in things like speaking evil of others, being impatient, or grumbling. So the call here is a challenge, to rise to a higher standard in how we actually treat one another, right here on earth.
And this verse just perfectly illustrates the point. In James 4:11, he says, "Speak not evil one of another, brethren." It's so direct, so practical. It's all about our earthly interactions. This is the foundation, the very first step of the journey.
Okay, so once that foundation is laid, the journey moves into stage 2, the new beginning. Now, notice how James shifts his language just a little bit. He adds a personal touch. He starts calling his readers my brethren, and he uses this specific phrase exactly 8 times.
And there's that number again, 8. This is a huge sign that the journey is turning inward now. It's a call to a personal resurrection in our faith, a new beginning that goes way deeper than just our outward actions.
You see, the crucial thing here is the progression. We're moving from just trying to avoid bad behavior to actively pursuing new spiritual disciplines. The whole goal is to become what James famously calls a doer of the word, someone whose faith is actually alive and you can see it in their actions.
This verse from James chapter 2, this is the heart of stage 2. What doth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and have not works? This is the core challenge, to move beyond just saying we believe to having a faith that's active, that's visible, and that truly transforms us.
And that brings us to the final destination on the map, stage 3, divine completeness. And here, James uses his most intimate, most affectionate form of address, my beloved brethren. And you guessed it, he uses this phrase exactly 3 times. And of course, that number 3 points us straight to divine completeness. This stage is all about reaching a place of deep theological understanding and just profound intimacy with God. It's the culmination of the entire journey.
The transformation at this stage is just incredible. It's about grasping core truths, like the absolute goodness of God, so deeply that they fundamentally change how you exist in the world. The result isn't just following a bunch of rules. It's living from a place of love and wisdom, becoming the kind of person who is swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath.
This beautiful verse from James chapter 1 just perfectly captures the character of someone who's reached this stage. It's a state of being that flows from a deep, settled peace with God. I mean, this is spiritual maturity.
Okay, so we've walked through all 3 stages. Now let's just step back for a second, put the whole map together, and look at the stunning picture it creates.
And there it is, the whole journey laid out. It's such a clear progression, isn't it? From the 4 mentions of brethren that ground us in our earthly walk, to the 8 mentions of my brethren that call us to a new beginning, and finally arriving at the 3 mentions of my beloved brethren, signaling that divine completeness.
And when you add those numbers up, 4 plus 8 plus 3, you get a grand total of 15. These different ways of addressing the brethren appear exactly 15 times. So, what does the number 15 mean?
Well, the number 15 symbolizes completion and rest. It represents a journey that has reached its divinely intended destination. You see, this suggests that James isn't just a random collection of teachings. It's a carefully constructed path leading us to spiritual maturity and a deep stability in God.
And for those of you who love to dig a little deeper, there's one more layer here. In biblical symbolism, 15 is also the sum of 10, which represents divine law, and 5, which represents grace. It's just a beautiful picture of how this entire journey shows God's grace empowering us to live out His truth, leading us to that final, complete rest.
So, as we wrap this up, the map is laid out right in front of you. The real question isn't just about whether James did this on purpose, but what it means for you. Are you in those early stages learning to manage your earthly walk? Are you maybe in the middle of a new beginning, turning your faith into action? Or are you finding yourself resting in that place of divine completeness? Looking at this map, where are you on the journey today?